The moon of Thesara hung in space like a jewel forgotten in an old treasure box. Its surface glowed with soft purple light from the crystal forests that covered its valleys. Ancient towers reached toward the stars, built by hands that had turned to dust thousands of years ago. And among those ruins, a dragon waited. Velraxis was her name. Though no one had spoken it in centuries, she was enormous, with scales that shimmered like midnight water under moonlight. Her wings could block out the sun when she flew, and her eyes held the weight of ages. For 3,000 years, she had guarded this place. For 3,000 years, she had been completely alone. The dragon moved slowly through the abandoned gardens, her massive claws gentle as she tended to flowers that grew among the ruins. These plants were the last living things from the civilization that once thrived here. Velraxis cared for them with the devotion of a mother protecting her children. They were all she had left of the people who had once been her friends. A ship appeared in the sky above the moon. Velraxis lifted her great head and watched it descend. Another visitor. Another fool who thought they could speak to her. She felt tired just watching the vessel land near the edge of the crystal forest. Over the centuries, many had come. The Chromath had arrived with their advanced translation machines, convinced that technology could bridge any gap. They had spoken to her in 1,000 languages, but Velraxis had simply turned away. The ethereals had tried telepathy, pushing their thoughts directly into her mind. She had blocked them out with walls of silence. The harmonics had come with their music, believing that sound could reach where words could not. Their songs had been beautiful, but meaningless. They all wanted something. Information about the lost civilization, access to the ancient technology buried in the ruins, alliance with a powerful dragon, permission to mine the rare crystals that grew in the forests. They came with demands, dressed up as requests, with false friendship hiding greed. Velraxis had learned to see through them all. She would listen to their attempts at communication for a day, perhaps 2. Then she would spread her wings and roar, and they would flee back to their ships, frightened and frustrated. Some called her a monster. Others said she was simply an animal, too primitive to understand language. Let them think what they wanted. She knew the truth. She could understand their words perfectly well. That was not the problem. The problem was that none of them understood her. The ship that had just landed was small, designed for a single occupant. Velraxis watched as the airlock opened, and a human stepped out onto the purple soil of Thesara. The dragon's eyes narrowed with interest. Humans were relatively new to the galactic community, having only discovered faster-than-light travel a few decades ago. Most species considered them primitive and overly emotional. The human was a woman with dark hair pulled back in a simple style. She wore practical clothing suited for research work, with equipment packs strapped to her back. She looked around at the crystal forest and the ancient ruins with an expression of wonder on her face. Then she looked up and saw Velraxis. The dragon waited for the usual reaction: fear, excitement, the immediate attempt to establish communication. But the human simply stood there, meeting Velraxis's gaze calmly. She did not reach for any devices. She did not speak or make any sounds. She just looked at the dragon, and her face showed something unexpected: respect. The human bowed slightly, a gesture that seemed genuine rather than calculated. Then she turned and began setting up a small camp at the edge of the clearing, well away from where Velraxis rested. She worked quietly and efficiently, unpacking supplies and establishing a simple shelter. She did not approach the dragon. She did not try to communicate. She simply went about her business, as if she had all the time in the world. Velraxis watched with growing curiosity. This was different. Every other visitor had rushed forward immediately, eager to make contact, to prove they could succeed where others had failed. This human seemed content to simply exist in the same space, making no demands, expecting nothing. As the day passed, the human finished setting up her camp. She ate a simple meal, then brought out what appeared to be art supplies. She sat on a flat rock with a canvas in front of her and began to paint. Her subject was the landscape before her. The crystal forest catching the light, the ancient towers reaching into the purple sky, and yes, Velraxis herself in the distance. The dragon could have left. She could have roared and driven this visitor away like all the others. But something made her stay. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was the way the human painted with such focus and care, creating beauty rather than trying to extract information. Perhaps it was simply that after 3,000 years of loneliness, even the presence of a silent stranger felt like something. As the twin suns of the system set and darkness fell over Thesara, the human put away her art supplies. She looked toward Velraxis one more time, offered another small bow, and retreated to her shelter for the night. Velraxis remained in the garden, tending to her flowers under the stars. But for the first time, in longer than she could remember, she felt something other than emptiness. It was faint, barely noticeable, like the first hint of dawn before sunrise. It felt almost like hope. Dr. Maya Chen returned the next morning with the rising of the twin suns. Velraxis had not slept much during the night, which was unusual for her. She had spent the dark hours thinking about the quiet human who had asked for nothing. Maya emerged from her shelter and stretched in the morning light. She prepared a simple breakfast, then returned to her painting spot with fresh supplies. Today she brought different materials: colored pencils, charcoal, watercolors. She spent hours creating sketches of the ancient architecture, of the crystal formations, of the way light played across the ruins. Velraxis pretended not to watch, but she was watching. The dragon continued her daily routine of tending the gardens. But she found herself positioning her work closer to where Maya sat. Not close enough to seem interested, of course, just close enough to observe. Days passed in this pattern. Maya would arrive at dawn, work on her art throughout the day, and return to her shelter at dusk. She never approached Velraxis. She never called out or tried to get the dragon's attention. She simply existed in the same space, creating beauty and disturbing nothing. On the fifth day, Maya brought something different. She carried a small wooden box to a spot between her camp and the gardens where Velraxis worked. She set the box down carefully, opened it to reveal its contents, then walked away without looking back. Velraxis waited until Maya had returned to her painting before investigating. Inside the box was a blanket, handmade from soft fabric. The stitching was careful and precise, with patterns woven into the cloth. It was not valuable in any monetary sense. It was simply something made with care and left as a gift. The dragon touched the blanket gently with one claw. When had anyone given her a gift that was not meant to buy her favor? When had anyone offered her something simply because they wanted to? The next day, Maya left carved wooden figures near the box. They depicted various creatures from across the galaxy. The day after that, she planted flowers in a small garden plot, choosing seeds that would complement the ancient plants Velraxis already tended. Velraxis began to understand. This human was not trying to talk at her. She was trying to talk with her, in a language that had nothing to do with words. In the depths of her ancient memory, Velraxis remembered her own people. The dragons of old had not communicated primarily through speech. They had shared emotions, presence, the weight of their existence with one another. When two dragons met, they did not exchange information. They exchanged themselves. They showed each other their hearts through actions, through shared silence, through the simple act of being together. When her people had died, when the plague had taken them one by one, Velraxis had lost more than her family. She had lost the ability to truly connect with anyone. Every species she met afterward communicated through words, through technology, through sounds and symbols. None of them understood the language of the heart. Until now. Maya continued her routine, but Velraxis noticed new details. The human often sat quietly for long periods, not working on art, just breathing and being present. Sometimes Maya would close her eyes and simply listen to the sounds of Thesara, the gentle chiming of crystal branches in the wind, the whisper of ancient stones settling, the rustle of garden leaves. At night, Velraxis began to sense something strange. She dreamed of loneliness that was not her own. She felt echoes of grief, of loss, of someone searching for connection. These feelings came from Maya, bleeding through some empathic link that Velraxis had not created intentionally. It seemed the human carried her own sorrows. One morning, Velraxis woke to find something new. Maya had created a memorial garden in a clearing near the ancient ruins. She had arranged stones in careful patterns, planted flowers in specific colors, and hung small wind chimes from the crystal trees. Each element had been chosen with purpose. Velraxis approached slowly, her massive form moving silently despite her size. She studied the memorial and understood what it represented. This was for the lost civilization. This was for Velraxis's people, who had no one left to remember them except a lonely dragon. The human had seen the dragon's grief, and she had responded not with words of comfort, which would have meant nothing, but with action, with care, with the simple acknowledgement that loss deserved to be honored. Something cracked in Velraxis's heart. Something that had been frozen for 3,000 years began to thaw. That afternoon, while Maya painted, Velraxis moved closer than she had ever allowed any visitor to come. She settled herself at the edge of the clearing, perhaps 50 feet from where Maya worked. The human glanced up, saw the dragon, and smiled softly. She did not make a big gesture or try to celebrate this progress. She simply accepted it and returned to her painting. As the day ended, Velraxis did something she had not done since her people died. She created light patterns in the sky, using the ancient dragon magic that could bend starlight itself. The colors danced and swirled above the ruins, purples and blues and silvers that told stories without words. Maya stood watching, her face filled with wonder and understanding. She did not ask what the lights meant. She did not try to interpret them or record them for study. She simply witnessed them, and when they faded, she placed her hand over her heart and bowed deeply. When Velraxis returned to her garden that night, she found small crystals arranged near her resting place. Maya had left them there, a gift in return for the light show. They were not valuable crystals from the forest. They were simple stones that Maya had polished by hand, made beautiful through effort and care. For the first time in millennia, Velraxis felt something she had almost forgotten. She felt seen. She felt understood. She felt less alone. 3 weeks had passed since Maya first arrived on Thesara. The distance between human and dragon had shrunk from hundreds of feet to mere yards. They existed together now in a shared space of comfortable silence and mutual understanding. Maya had moved beyond simple visits. She had decided to stay permanently, transforming her temporary camp into a proper home. She built a small cabin using materials she had brought and stones from the ruins, always careful to take nothing that held historical value. Velraxis watched the construction with interest, sometimes moving debris out of Maya's way when the human was not looking. One morning, Maya did something different. She sat near Velraxis's garden and opened a small photo album. The dragon, curious, moved closer to see. Maya held up the album so Velraxis could view the images clearly. The photos showed people. A woman with kind eyes and Maya's same smile. A man with gray hair and gentle hands. 2 younger people, perhaps Maya's siblings. In each photo, these people were laughing, embracing, living. Maya touched each picture softly, and Velraxis felt waves of emotion coming from the human. Love, loss, grief. These people were gone, just as Velraxis's people were gone. Maya carried the same weight of being left behind. The human spoke for the first time since arriving, her voice quiet and gentle. "I understand what it feels like," she said, not expecting an answer. "To be the one who remains when everyone else is gone. To have no one who speaks your language anymore." Velraxis felt something shift inside her chest. This human had not come seeking knowledge or power. She had come seeking connection with another lonely soul. Maya had recognized a kindred spirit across the vast difference of species. The dragon made a decision. She reached out with her mind, not forcing thoughts like the telepathic species had done, but opening a door and inviting Maya through. She shared a vision. Herself as a younger dragon, surrounded by her kind. She showed Maya how dragons communicated through shared feelings and presence. She revealed the moment when the last of her people died, leaving her completely alone. Maya gasped as the vision filled her mind. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not from fear, but from understanding. "You don't need words," she whispered. "You need someone to be with, someone to share existence with." Yes, finally, someone understood. From that moment, everything changed. Maya began living fully on Thesara, establishing routines that matched Velraxis's own. When the dragon tended her gardens in the morning, Maya worked alongside her, planting and weeding. When Velraxis rested in the afternoon sun, Maya would sit nearby with her sketchbook or simply close her eyes and breathe. They developed their own unique communication system. Maya expressed her thoughts and feelings through art. She painted emotions on canvas, sculpted experiences in clay, wrote poetry in the ancient gardens. Velraxis responded with her light displays, creating patterns in the sky that conveyed meaning through color and movement. Blue and silver meant peace and contentment. Deep purple meant remembrance of the past. Gold meant gratitude. Red and orange meant warning or concern. Green meant growth and hope for the future. Through this language, they shared their lives with each other. Maya showed Velraxis her childhood on Earth, her love of learning, her choice to study xenolinguistics because she believed all beings deserved to be understood. Velraxis shared memories of her people's civilization, their art and philosophy. Their belief that true connection came from emotional honesty rather than clever words. One evening, as the twin suns set and painted the sky in brilliant colors, Maya sat beside one of Velraxis's massive front legs. She leaned against the dragon's scales, feeling the warmth of the ancient creature's body. Velraxis, moving with extraordinary gentleness, curled her wing around the small human form. It was the first time in 3,000 years that Velraxis had touched another living being with affection. The dragon felt Maya's heartbeat through her scales, steady and strong. She felt the human's breathing, calm and peaceful. She felt connection, real and true and whole. Maya looked up at the sky through the translucent membrane of Velraxis's wing. "You're not the monster they think you are. And," she said softly, "you're just someone who needed to be understood in your own language. Someone who needed a friend, who could speak from the heart." Velraxis created light patterns above them, weaving gold and green together. "Thank you for seeing me as I am." Maya smiled, understanding the message perfectly. "Thank you for letting me in." They sat together in comfortable silence as the stars emerged one by one. For Velraxis, the universe felt less empty than it had in millennia. She had believed herself incapable of connection again, thought that part of her had died with her people. But Maya had proven her wrong. The human had shown that even across vast differences, hearts could still meet and understand each other. As night deepened, Velraxis noticed something on the horizon, a cluster of lights in the sky, too bright and too organized to be stars. Ships, multiple ships, approaching Thesara. The dragon's body tensed, and Maya felt the change immediately. She stood up and looked where Velraxis was staring. "What is it?" she asked. Velraxis created red and orange patterns in the air. Warning. Danger. The ships grew larger and brighter as they approached. There were at least a dozen of them. Various sizes and designs. They were not scientific vessels like Maya's had been. These were corporate ships, the kind that came seeking profit rather than knowledge. Maya's expression hardened with understanding and concern. Their peaceful time together was about to be interrupted. The outside galaxy had noticed that something had changed on Thesara, and now they were coming to see what they could take from it. Velraxis pulled Maya closer with her wing, protective, and suddenly afraid. She had opened her heart again after so long. She had learned to trust. But now, that trust would be tested in ways she could not predict. The ships landed in a coordinated formation around the crystal forest, their engines sending clouds of purple dust into the air. Maya stood beside Velraxis, her hand resting on the dragon's foreleg as they watched the visitors arrive. The dragon's scales had darkened with stress, shifting from midnight blue to almost black. Representatives from 5 different corporations emerged from the ships. They wore expensive suits and carried advanced scanning equipment. Their leader was a tall Vrathan, a species known for their business skills and complete lack of sentiment. His name was Cross, and he approached Maya's cabin with confident steps. "Dr. Chen," Cross called out, his translator device making his voice sound mechanical. "We represent the Galactic Mining Consortium. We've been monitoring this system, and we've detected unusual energy signatures. It appears you've made contact with the dragon." Maya stepped forward, positioning herself between the visitors and Velraxis. "This moon is not open for business. Its teed is not AA," she said firmly. "I'm here as an independent researcher, and I haven't invited any corporate presence." Cross smiled, showing too many teeth. "The moon of Thesara has never been claimed by any government. Under galactic law, that makes it available for commercial development. We've detected rare crystal deposits worth billions of credits. We're prepared to begin mining operations immediately." "This is an archaeological site," Maya protested. "There are ruins here from an extinct civilization. The crystals are part of the ecosystem. You can't just destroy everything for profit." Another representative stepped forward, a human woman named Director Wells. "Dr. Chen, be reasonable. We understand you've formed some kind of bond with the creature. Use that connection. Negotiate with it. Convince it to allow limited mining in exchange for protection of certain areas. Everyone benefits." Maya felt anger rising in her chest. They saw Velraxis as an obstacle to be managed, not as a person with rights and feelings. "She's not a creature or an it," Maya said coldly. "Her name is Velraxis, and this is her home. You have no right to be here." Cross's expression hardened. "We have every right. We've filed the proper claims with the Galactic Commerce Authority. Mining will begin in 3 days, with or without cooperation. If the dragon interferes, we have authorization to use defensive measures." Maya looked back at Velraxis. The dragon understood what was happening even without words. Her eyes glowed with ancient power, and for a moment, Maya saw what Velraxis could do if she chose. The dragon could destroy every ship here with a single breath of fire. She could tear through metal like paper. She could drive these invaders away in seconds. But Velraxis remained still, her gaze locked on Maya. The dragon had opened her heart to one human. If she became the monster these people expected, if she used violence even in self-defense, she would lose that precious connection. She would prove that all the others had been right about her. Maya understood the dragon's fear. She also understood what was at stake. If they did nothing, the corporations would destroy everything. The gardens, the ruins, The memorial they had built together, the peaceful life they had started to create, would end. "I have a proposal," Maya said suddenly, her mind racing. "Give me 1 week. Let me contact the human government and propose making Thesara a protected sanctuary. Humanity is new to the galactic community, but we have resources. We can buy the mining rights and establish legal protection." Director Wells laughed. "And why would humanity spend billions to protect one dragon and some old ruins?" "Because we understand the value of things that can't be measured in credits," Maya replied. "Because we believe some places should remain sacred. Because protecting a living remnant of an ancient civilization matters more than short-term profit." Cross considered this. 1 week. But if humanity doesn't purchase the full mining rights, we proceed as planned. And Dr. Chen, you'll need to convince your government quickly. Our shareholders won't wait forever. The corporate representatives returned to their ships, leaving monitoring equipment scattered around the crystal forest. Maya watched them go, her heart pounding. She had bought time, but now she faced an impossible task. That night, Maya sent urgent messages to Earth. She contacted the Xenological Preservation Society, the Department of Interstellar Affairs, even the news networks. She wrote passionately about what she had discovered on Thesara, about Velraxis and the lost civilization, about the importance of protecting places of historical and cultural significance. Velraxis watched Maya work through the night, seeing the humans' determination and exhaustion. The dragon created soft blue lights to help Maya see, providing gentle illumination as the human typed message after message. "I don't know if this will work," Maya admitted during a brief rest. "Humanity is still figuring out its place in the galactic community. We're seen as emotional and impulsive. They might not listen." Velraxis moved closer and gently touched Maya's shoulder with her snout. The gesture was tender, full of trust. Maya felt the dragon's emotions through their connection. Fear, yes, but also hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, there were more beings in the galaxy who could understand the language of the heart. "If this fails," Maya said quietly, "if they come with their machines and their weapons, what will you do?" Velraxis created light patterns in response. Deep purple for sorrow, red for warning, but then gold for gratitude. Whatever happened, she was grateful for the time they had shared. She was grateful to have known connection again, even if it was brief. Maya felt tears on her cheeks. "I won't let them take this from us," she promised. "Even if I have to bring every human who believes in compassion and preservation to stand here with me. You're not alone anymore, Velraxis. And I'm going to make sure the galaxy knows that." The dragon wrapped her wing around Maya, holding her close as the twin suns began to rise over Thesara. They had 1 week. 1 week to prove that some things mattered more than profit. 1 week to show that connection and understanding could triumph over greed. 1 week to save their home. The response from Earth came faster than Maya had dared to hope. Within 3 days, messages flooded her communication system. The Xenological Preservation Society had shared her reports across every human network. News organizations had picked up the story of the lonely dragon and the human who learned to speak her language. People across Earth were captivated. But more importantly, the messages came from individuals. Artists who understood the value of beauty over profit. Gardeners who knew the importance of tending growing things. Therapists and counselors who recognized the language of emotional presence. Teachers who believed in patience and understanding. They all wanted to help. On the 5th day, ships began arriving. Not corporate vessels, but small personal craft carrying humans who had volunteered to come. Maya watched in amazement as one ship after another landed gently around the crystal forest, careful not to damage anything. The first to emerge was an elderly woman named Sarah, a retired art teacher with kind eyes. She carried a canvas and paints. "I came to help," she said simply to Maya. "Show me how to speak to her." Maya explained the language she and Velraxis had developed. How presence mattered more than words. How patience and genuine care created connection. How offering beauty and respect opened doors that demands and technology could never unlock. Sarah nodded with understanding. She set up her easel at a respectful distance from Velraxis and began to paint the crystal forest. She did not try to approach the dragon. She simply created art and existed peacefully in the same space. More humans arrived throughout the day. A young man named James, who practiced meditation and mindfulness. A musician named Arya, who played gentle melodies on a hand-carved flute. A botanist named Dr. Patel, who brought seeds and gardening tools. An empath named Kenji, who understood emotions deeply and naturally. Each person Maya had carefully selected from the thousands who had volunteered. Each one understood what Velraxis needed. Not researchers seeking data, but kindred spirits offering connection. Velraxis watched these newcomers with cautious curiosity. She felt the same quality in them that she had sensed in Maya. These humans carried their own sorrows and joys, their own understanding of loneliness and connection. They approached her world with respect and genuine care. On the 6th day, Maya received the message she had been praying for. The human government, moved by public support and recognizing the cultural importance of Thesara, had purchased all mining rights to the moon. They were establishing it as a protected sanctuary under Earth's guardianship. The corporations would be compensated and sent away. But the real miracle came with a second message. It was a signal that Velraxis detected first, her ancient senses picking up frequencies that human equipment could barely register. The dragon's entire body went rigid with shock and disbelief. Maya rushed to her side. "What is it? What do you sense?" Velraxis created light patterns in the sky, colors that Maya had never seen before. Brilliant golds, mixed with trembling silvers. Expressions of shock and desperate hope. "Are there others?" Maya whispered, understanding flooding through their connection. "Other dragons?" The signals grew stronger. 3 ships appeared on the horizon. But these were unlike any vessels Maya had seen. They were organic in design, grown rather than built, with scales and elegant curves that resembled dragon wings. The ships landed, and from each one emerged a dragon. They were smaller than Velraxis, younger, but unmistakably of her kind. Their scales shimmered in different colors. One deep emerald, one burnished copper, one pearl white. They moved tentatively, their eyes wide with fear and hope. Through her connection with Maya, Velraxis shared the truth. These dragons had gone into deep hibernation after their civilization fell, traumatized and unable to face a galaxy alone. They had hidden themselves away in distant corners of space, sleeping through centuries of grief and isolation. But they had sensed Velraxis's awakening, felt her connection with Maya across the stars. They had felt hope for the first time in millennia. The Emerald Dragon spoke first, her voice like wind chimes in Maya's mind. "Sister, is it real? Have you truly found beings who can understand us?" Velraxis moved forward slowly, and the younger dragons came to meet her. They touched foreheads in an ancient greeting, sharing emotions and memories. Maya felt tears streaming down her face as she witnessed the reunion. They understand. Velraxis communicated through light and feeling. These humans speak the language of the heart. The human volunteers watched in respectful silence as the dragons reconnected with their own kind. Sarah continued painting, now capturing this historic moment. Dr. Patel quietly planted flowers in patterns that honored dragon culture. Arya played music that matched the emotional tone of the reunion. Over the following weeks, more dragons emerged from hiding. Word spread across the galaxy that Thesara had become a place where ancient beings could find acceptance and connection. The human volunteers learned to communicate with each dragon individually. discovering that while they shared a common language of presence and emotion, each dragon had their own unique way of expressing themselves. Maya and Valraxis continued their special bond, but now they were surrounded by community. The dragon was no longer the last of her kind, no longer alone in her guardianship of the ancient ruins. The humans were not just visitors but family, chosen through mutual understanding rather than blood. One evening, as the twin suns set and painted the sky in brilliant colors, Valraxis created a light display more complex and beautiful than any before. The patterns formed words in multiple languages, dragon and human alike, visible to everyone gathered in the crystal forest. The message glowed against the darkening sky. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for staying. Thank you for teaching me that being alone ends when someone chooses to truly understand. Maya stood among the community they had built, surrounded by humans and dragons living together in peace. She thought about how it all began, with a lonely dragon and a patient human who understood that the most powerful communication came not from speaking, but from caring enough to listen with the heart. Valraxis was never alone again, and neither was Maya.